Life can be a little crazy sometimes. In these bizarre moments we live in, we need a podcast to bring us together, to inspire others during all this chaos. Who will step up to the challenge? I'm Sean Graves, though I can't fix everything. With the help of my guests, we can help inspire each other. Well, let me introduce you. You're my guest today is Khadijah Burton of Khadijah Inspires and Shop Kinspires, right? Is that how you say it? Shop Kinspires?
Yep.
And you've always been like an inspirational person to me, and almost I feel like a comrade in the field of just being a positive influence to other people, which is what the basis of Inspire with Sean was as a podcast, because I've always wanted to do a podcast and something that is relatable, because we're all just human beings and we experience life in so many different ways. So ergo, having different people from different walks of life that is different from me and sharing, you know, like our lives, our ideas, our aspirations. And you've always been like in the back of my head, always someone to go, yes, watch out for this lady. She is coming at you and she doesn't give a shit if she runs over you, because it's going to be a positive thing no matter what you touch, you know?
I really do try. It's to a point now where, like you said, it kind of feels to me like a lifestyle. It doesn't really feel like a hat that I'm putting on and taking off. And I think that that's so important in whatever niche that you're doing, to be authentic and to be like wholeheartedly committed to that thing, even if it's for, you know, a period of time. Like your lifestyle, I feel like your lifestyle should always be, it should always fit really snug into whatever that niche is that you're doing, because I feel like that's where you'll really be able to take to get the most information back in, to therefore like put out better content, and then also just to build that trust with whoever is like looking to you for that thing, to know, okay, I know that she's not going to, or he's not going to steer me in the wrong direction, because they're so committed and devoted to their purpose.
Yeah, so absolutely.
I appreciate that.
And the thing is like, it's not, for me, I feel like for my experience, it was something that had to grow. You know, I didn't feel like I was going to be influential from the get-go, you know? And so it's a matter of like looking at other mentors and going like, wow, that actually speaks to me, you know? And like, then am I that next generation of inspirational people? And where am I in this spectrum, you know? And I'm still going through that. Like today, it actually for like the past year, I've been going through individuation, which is a very young process, you know, observing the ego, going through shadow work, observing the animus that's within both men and women. And now observing what is actually the self. Like when they say myself, what is myself, you know? And that's currently where I'm at right now. It's like, it's a very Pinocchio observation of figuring out, because you think like, you know, Pinocchio is this marionette and it has no strings, but the question is like, what are the strings behind the puppet that's making it do the business that it's doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's such a wild thought, you know? And I've just been like, since I'm in quarantine, I was like, well, I've got 14 days to think about this shit.
Yeah, you have time. Time is I always tell people it's the most valuable asset. Like even if it's spiritual work, shadow work, just whatever it is that you wanna do, time is like the most valuable thing. So I think you should take advantage of that, as you already are. Yeah. But I feel like you're doing a great thing taking advantage of that, because a lot of people would sell their time like 10 times over for even you know what I mean, an ounce
But
of what it's worth in
yes.
monetary value. And I no longer feel that way anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I love that you said that. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, you look at people on like Instagram or Facebook and or like Twitter, and they're like these shredded, ripped bodies, or like these memes, and it's like, I love tacos too, but man, this body image that I really want to aim for, you gotta figure it out. But I'll tell you what, I will have myself a homemade quesadilla in a heartbeat, but I gotta get my crunches in at the same time. So it's like, who am I really
Yeah.
promising here? Whose promise am I breaking at the present moment right now? Clearly the shadow self, because it's like, once you realize I can break a promise to myself in eating a quesadilla and sacrificing that one crunch, it's so worth it. Yeah, and like having people like you said, say that little ounce of time or that little ounce of effort that's put into not only your body, yourself as a person. And I don't like to say like nowadays like the word soul, because it's like, well, what is that now? Because I'm trying to figure that out in myself. Psychologically, spiritually, like, my gosh, I have thought about a whole lot of things in 14 days, like memes. Like, I have broken down like what a freaking meme is. It's like, it's so crazy. It's out there. It's so inspirational, because I feel like I want to talk about it, but I'm like, I don't want to talk about it just yet, because I'm not sure if I grasp the whole cusp of it, It's a
Okay.
strange world to be in right now in my noggin. Yeah.
You got it. You got
Yeah.
it.
Right. You've started a business. Tell me about this adventure.
Okay. So I think that it was supposed to be like this, like way before.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel as though by saying that, I also feel like I'm kind of like overlooking the amount of growth that has transpired, like from then when I felt like this was supposed to be what was happening, to like
Mm-hmm.
now where I feel like I'm more in a space where it should be happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because when you're creating content, because I've been on YouTube and just on social media, creating content and just trying to be a space for people to gain inspiration and things like that. I've had my handle for longer than I could probably remember. It's been like over 5 years, over like, and I just never, my heart was so into the content that I just never thought of any ways to monetize it. I
Mm-hmm.
never for once was like, and for a while I was contemplating on it, like, does this make me a bad person for being like, I feel as though for the effort that's going on behind the scenes that no one is seeing, um, do I, you know what I mean? Should I feel bad for feeling like I should be trying to create a way to pour back into my efforts?
Mm-hmm.
And so like that was like that was a real big thing between, you know what I mean? Like you talk about ego and just I was just having that battle. Like, am I being entitled?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so I started to really look at the people that were in my niche, and the common thread between a lot of the people that I look up to, um, in order for me to step into that space, I have to start to adopt, even if it's slowly, certain characteristics within my memes. And I was just like, there's no reason now with, you know what I mean, the humble following that I have, that I shouldn't be able to offer that. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that people have to go after it and buy it and do things, but I feel like I should be widening my options
Mm-hmm.
for, you know what I mean, to enhance the user and the, you know what I mean, the consumer experience. I
Yeah.
shouldn't just be pouring my energy so hard into, you know, I'm buying all of this equipment. I'm sitting there investing in courses to figure out, you know, how to create better content, how to market better content. I shouldn't be doing this on my own solely. And so that was the conversation. And then eventually it was kind of like, if I don't do it, eventually I will, you know what I mean? There's only so much you can try to make yourself do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it came from. It was kind of like, I think if people support me through, you know what I mean, my content, I'm sure that, you know what I mean, whether it's one or two people, I'm so grateful
Yep.
to those people to invest in supporting me in that way. Because at the end of the day, everything counts. The likes, the
Mm-hmm.
comments, just a view, no engagement, it counts. And so it's like, that's where it kind of stems from, was like, how can we expand and monetize this, because it's been too long for you to still be I felt like I had outgrown this
Absolutely.
idea of just passion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I totally understand that.
passionately.
I totally understand that because like for a music aspect, like with my music, the synth music, I had been writing and playing with synthesizers since like the 2000s, you know, and
Mm,
recording them and everything like that. And then I didn't start like releasing music onto iTunes because, you know, you know, in the early 2000s, it's like, hey, you want to hear this CD that I just burnt, right? Because who knows what burning a CD is nowadays. But um you know, you would burn a CD and then you would give it to a friend and it had like my name on it and like a really shoddy album title and like a list of tracks on it, and it was, you know, 2000 as fuck, you know. um but it
I
would be
love
free.
that era.
Yeah,
I
me
love that
too.
era. Like, that grit, you don't see it anymore. You just don't.
it's a
And I miss that. I miss that.
it's a whole other game now because, you know, it
Mhm.
was local. You know, it was local in your schoolyard, it was local in your hallways at school. um or like I would go like to like the music stores like Hot Topic, or which isn't like a music store, or like a mom and pop shop, and I would have like the cassette tape, like the jewel case, and I would slip it into the slots. And if someone picked it up and was like, oh, that's weird, this isn't priced, you know, then they just took home music that's mine,
Mm.
and they heard this kind of free gift. It wasn't good. I mean, compared to today, but you have to grow, you know?
Exactly. I
And
agree.
like you said, like the thing is like you've been doing this for so long and you got this niche of like, for me, electronic music, for you, the community that you dive
Mhm.
into, and then you're like, between this common thread, what am I not doing? And I kind of started to realize, like, you know, with like this last year coming around, a lot of people are like high anxiety, freak out like really quick. And I was like, people need entertainment so bad, you know? And it's not enough of Netflix and chill because there's only so much content there that what's the next one? Oh, music. And
Mhm.
I was like, screw it. Let's do good old fashioned meditation music. And I started going in that route, and then started doing videos on top of those, you know, like
Mhm.
comparatively, and just seeing like how people react to them. Does it help? I don't really know yet. But the thing is that it's at least a part of doing it and having the fearlessness to go in and say, this is what I'm going to
Mhm.
be up to for the next few days. I mean, it took me years to even just come out with my own music with my own name on it without a project name, you know, like Lil Nas X. Like, what if he came out with his own music and it wasn't Lil Nas X, instead it was his real name, you know? Like,
Mhm.
how much courage do you have to put out to finally say, this is my music, you know? It took a long time to get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we create these imaginary boundaries
Mm-hmm.
And I think that everyone does it. I think because we feel as though there's this tier that we have to hit in order to be eligible
Mm-hmm.
to like to make money or to launch something or to, when in reality, like when you're thinking in a mindset of abundance and just everything around you being accessible to you, like by like that's just by standard,
Mm-hmm.
it changes your perspective, because it's like the people that you look up to, they had to be daring and they had to be audacious and just take a step out and do something, because part of manifestation is having this insane belief in something that you don't even know, you have no clue what will turn out, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have no idea. And so I feel like that's kind of like damaging, that we all do it to ourselves. We create these, if by this point I'm not here, then I failed. Or
Mm-hmm.
if by this point I'm not at this amount, I can't monetize my content because people
Mm-hmm.
won't take me seriously.
Right.
When there's 2 people, 3 people that'll be like, I like this, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
invest into this person because I know that they took their time to do this. There
Yep.
are people like that out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you kind of overlook those people by saying, "Oh, I only have 5 followers, no one's gonna buy it,"
Mm-hmm.
or we limit
And
ourselves to people that we know.
and the thing is like for us, those 3 people need to tell more people.
Mm-hmm.
That word of
Exactly.
mouth is so powerful still to
Exactly.
this day. It's crazy, you know? Like that leap, that leap into of faith, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
that is the scariest thing to have to endure, because you're going to jump and then it's you're going to fall and you're never going to know where that bottom is, because you're just going to keep on falling. You can abandon out. You can have someone come and like skydive and save you and parachute to safety, and that is, you didn't do a great job. You're done. You leave that chapter behind. But there's these like, I don't know if it's like the drive or if it's just the passion that is within us, that what you do, what I do, um, these passions in our life, we're so believed into it. That's like, I didn't know how much money I spent on synthesizers until I looked it up at work the other day, because I was looking at a synthesizer. I was like, oh, this would be really great into my, collection. And then John Mager,
Mm-hmm.
he was like, Sean, how many synthesizers do you have? I'm like, 4. And he was like, okay, why another one? I'm like, well, this one does other things. It's like, okay, but how much money have you spent on it? I was like, about 1,500 some odd dollars. And he was like, and you want to spend another 500 on another one? No, I cannot allow this to happen. I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
Like that just, you put that
Yeah.
money into it. And by the way, I'm not nearly getting the same amount of money out of it. You know what I mean? Like
Because that's a thing too. Your return on your investment is a really big thing.
Absolutely. The thing about music is that it's like, it's so saturated with people who make this, not like the same music, but are in the same genres, right? That you get lost in the sauce. But what I've decided to do recently is to try to break the algorithm. That's the idea so far. And I've got a couple of ideas and a couple of algorithms I've got pinpointed. And I'm like, oh, if anybody on Facebook has or on Instagram or Twitter has a Spotify account, just add one song of mine into a playlist. I don't give a shit which one it is. And then we'll see if we can break the algorithm. Because people listen to
I
other
will do
people's
that.
Playlists. And then they share those playlists, and then those playlists get played more. And it's like 0.0009 cents to the song or listen that I get out of it. But I'm wondering if maybe by breaking the algorithm of having friends put at least one song, you don't even have to like it, and see if other people who listen to it, you know what I mean? If a spider affects out to other playlists and then gets more monetized, if you will. You know what I'm saying? which is practically free at that point.
I like that. It's a really passive approach. And I think so. Would placement matter? Would it matter if that person had put you on the bottom of the playlist or just top 5 of the playlist?
I have no idea. See, that's the science experiment behind it, though. You know what I mean? It's like the algorithm is how many playlists are you on, and how often are you being heard? Correct?
Right.
So if you have a playlist, I have a playlist. That's 2 playlists. And you have friends who listen to your playlist, or you know just a random person, and then they listen to your playlist. That's an extra listen. You know what I'm saying? And then they add that playlist to theirs if they like it. And now that's 3 playlists.
Okay.
So on and so forth. And that spider effect happens. That's the idea. Now, as far as like where on the playlist it goes, I don't know, man. I don't know.
So right now we're just we're just doing a general experiment. And then from there, when we find the variables, you know what I mean? Then we can go in there and do a more in-depth and just keep zooming in and zooming in. But right now we're just doing kind of like a general umbrella, like kind of sort of.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like, the science experiment, if like, you know, because they all start with a question. The question is, what if everyone who has a Spotify account, who is my friend on Facebook and real life and Twitter, Instagram, etc., added one of my songs, don't care what song it is, to their playlist? How monetized will it become because of other listeners listening in to those people? You know, it's almost like the good deed effect. If I do one good deed for you, you'll do one good deed for that person, and then that person does another good deed, and then that other person does a good deed, you know?
Right.
Yeah. It's like that. But it's not like a matter, it's like almost like a matter of like, so if I do a good deed at the beginning of my day, you know what I mean? Or as opposed to like, 12 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and I scheduled that I'm going to do that one good deed at 7 o'clock in the evening. So it doesn't matter when I did it, because regardless, I'm going to do a good deed.
Right.
You know? So that's kind of like, that's kind of where I'm at. And again, it's that leap of faith of like, I've been doing this for years, decades almost. And it's like, when do you decide like, oh, I've made it? Where's that bullet point?
Yeah.
In the target? I'm successful. You know?
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. So why even start a business or a project? I mean, like, what was the why? I mean, did you just look at like other people and go, they're doing that, I'm doing that too?
No, it was more so I felt as though, because that the shirts and the totes,
you sold quick.
That's just the beginning. And I just felt like I was just thinking, what's the easiest or most affordable way to open the door. Like it wasn't really a matter of this is what I've always wanted to sell t-shirts, so now I'm selling t-shirts. It was more so like I've always wanted a merch line, one that was really exclusive to me. And I felt like the basic shirts were just a really nice way to open the door, because I want to create way more personalized and custom like designs. That is just like I don't really want a standard merch line. So that was just kind of like the opening door, and it was just giving the user a more intimate experience, and where it's like I know that this is something that she specifically manifested or put together, and I want to support that. And then it's also like that passive promotion as well, because you know what I mean, even having a Starbucks cup or even having these are ways that we're passively promoting and marketing other companies without even knowing it. And so that's why I felt like the website tee was just a really nice way to start, because there's something physical. And so it's like that. It's just way more intimate.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like that banner on like people's cars that like actually there was one that caught my eye. I was like, what the hell is that? And it was just like essential oil diffusers. Um
See?
but it worked.
Yeah.
And then there was like you know, you see that in like movies and TV shows like America's Got Talent, they'll have like Dunkin' Donut cups on the
Mm-hmm.
desk, you know, or the back of the movie will have like a Coca-Cola can. Like, you
Product
know,
placement. Yeah.
yeah, absolute product placement and shamelessly product placed, you know, like the Power
Mm-hmm.
Rangers movie, like literally the end of the movie took place at a Krispy Kreme donut shop. And I remember when that movie came out, Krispy Kreme was all about Power Rangers, you know?
That exchange for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
seems
I
like
totally
it for
feel
me.
that. It's like, you know, like being a music project for myself, like I thought like just be the entity that the music will sell itself first and then the image will come later, you know? But
Mm.
as of recent, like it's just been like, especially like with coming out with my own music, right? Classical pieces, that it is again the same idea of not like, you know, music sell first, image later, but with my own personal music, I've been trying to do a multitude of different things, and that was music, sheet music, so that people could play, you know, the music that they hear.
Mm. I like that.
Yeah, because
I
like with the
like that.
electronic music, I can play it live, but the thing is like I haven't notated any of it, so
Mm.
it's all
You'd
for
have
me.
to go back and figure it out. Right.
Exactly. It's a lot of, for me, unfortunately, backtracking. But the thing with the electronic music is that it's a sonic world, whereas with the classical music, it's just so much more style. I felt like if I was to do this right for my own personal music, so under Sean Graves as a banner, play it live, produce it well, write it down, like notate the shit out of it, sell the notation so other people can play it, but then like also have that image, like what makes a classical player good, you know? And it's not just the album art, but it's also the photographs and like the the visual experiences too, you know? So for me, I felt like, again, this is like early work before I started doing meditation music for 2020, was that I would go to like beach lines and I would do like the slow-mo on the iPhones and just slow-mo oceans crashing, you know, or fire burning, you know,
Mm.
and just put that
And
to
loop
my,
it.
mm-hmm, and just
I like
loop
that.
it and then just like put it to my music and then say, hey, here's an image. If you enjoy the music, that's even better, you know? So
Wow.
it's not
I like
like
that.
a whole lot of thought was put into it, but the thing is like, you know, you can't just be like, okay, so my music's on Spotify, iTunes, um, Amazon, all these places that people can hear it, because you also have that visual aspect that needs to be seen as well, you know? That in
Mm.
itself was like starting that new structure and trying to do it as to credence as possible. It's like so much work.
It's a lot, but a lot of people don't look at that
Mm-hmm.
they think that it's like, okay, because creating the content is the process is difficult,
Mm-hmm.
can be,
Time
and
consuming.
or tedious, time
Yep.
consuming. And a lot of people feel like, oh, I put in that much work to do this, so now I can kind of just sprinkle it out there, people will find it. And it's like that's the biggest myth, the biggest misconception at all, like of all time, I feel like, with content, because it's like it doesn't matter how hard you worked or how long it took you to get those lyrics for that song. If you're not going to put the field work in to push the product,
Yep.
it, then you better be grateful with whatever feedback that you get, even if it's none. You have to be grateful because
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything to push that.
Yep. Yep.
I
And
feel
it's
like people miss
wild.
that.
It's so wild because there's artists I listened to back in 2000 who I still to this day I want to hear more from them, but like unfortunately like there's a singer, her name is Poe, like Edgar Allan
Mm-hmm.
Poe. And she released only 2 albums with like a 2-year difference between them. And since her second album, she hasn't put out any new music. And it's like the reason why is unfortunately because of the political part of, you know, her music not being owned. Like her masters were sold. Her she was pretty much third ownered by some guy down in, we'll just say, I don't know, some island off of Florida. And she had no idea it was happening. So she walked away. She said, I'm done. I'm not doing this. Now, she had created some music later on, but it only lasted for like 3-4 years. And then she's just been like a ghost, you know? And yet the fans, like myself, were like, anytime she posts like even 30 seconds of her voice singing, we're on it. We're like, okay, when's the new album? It's been like 20 years. And we're all just like ready to go. And that kind of fanship, or like that legacy that person put in to their work so early on, and it's lasted them 20 years and they haven't done anything, you know? It's extraordinary, so inspirational, you know? It's like, I've never heard anybody else who could just drop off the face of the planet with a project, with their own music, with their own business, and go, it's fine. I know they're out there. You know?
Right.
It's so wild. It's something that like I aspire to, as well as a, not only just like, you know, a content creator such as music, but like, I mean, just, it's so crazy to watch it. And then I think to myself, like, you know, if I was to do the same thing, no one would ever blink an eye. And that's the scariest part, is like going like, would anyone care? You know? So wild. What were some of the fears that you had to overcome?
Like we just talked about, it was like, I was just questioning myself. Like I was kind of like, okay, so this is a t-shirt, this is a bag, and it just has my website on it and my logo. What kind of attachment would someone have to this to feel like that was like a plaguing fear? Like that, I was just kind of like, you might as well just, so like, just I didn't even know, you know what I mean? But I also was thinking, if the people that are creating inspirational content that I'm looking up to decided nobody's going to buy something with my brand on it, then they would never put it out, and then they'd never see. So this was just completely experimental for me, believe it or not. Like it was just, despite what I felt, like I was just like, it would really take someone who supports me to buy something that just has my website on it. So that was my biggest, like one of my biggest fears. And then my other biggest fear was money. It was kind of like, okay, I have this money to put, like sometimes it's like you barely have, like when you budget everything out, you barely have enough to invest into this. So that was a struggle, because I was like, dang, I don't even know the return on this. I'm really taking a risk on this because I could probably have saved some more money on something else. So that was like my biggest, I would even say financially, that was my biggest fear. Right. And then I would say, which has been, I have proven it to be wrong so far, but then it was the design. It was like, this is so basic. This has my website on it. Who's going to buy this? That was my thing. And then I would say my third fear was, I kind of talked about it in my YouTube video, but my third fear is kind of tied to the design and the actual stuff. It was like the vending, and it was the timeline that I had set to launch, because I had just blindly set it, thinking I kind of had more of a higher expectation in how fast it would get to me. And then I was surprised to see that it wasn't going to get to me in the time frame that I thought, but it still ended up working out in the end, and it came just in time for me to do everything. So that was like my fear. Those were like my biggest fears that I had to overcome.
You know, like Airbnb had to like relaunch like 3 separate times.
Really?
Yeah. They had the concept and they were like totally all about it, but like their customers showed up, they enjoyed their time, they disappeared, and then Airbnb was like, okay, we got to relaunch. But how do we relaunch again? And they just did it again. And then it was like, you just keep on. What I noticed was Airbnb relaunched so many times, I would think so many times, that to try to get so many people to come back and then consistently lose. And nowadays we're just like, oh, we'll just Airbnb. I've only Airbnb like maybe twice in my lifetime, but they were good experiences.
Yeah.
And with that comes, the turnaround of customers, because it's now word of mouth of like, oh, did you stay somewhere? Oh yeah, I stayed at this one place. It was from this place, and I used this app, and like it finally got to that point, but it took so many times for them to do it, and I look back at like myself and going like, if you think about every single album as a re-release, my goodness. I was looking at like the good old distributor website, and I was like this. Oh my gosh. There's time in between, but my goodness, how many times have I done this, and I'm still hungry to do it again, I'm still working on new pieces of music, like a sonata that I've been writing for the past year and a half, and a new electronic album that I'm just like, oh, gotta do this right. Gotta do Credence. Let's see if this works. Yeah. Do you like, with the first release of your line, right? Are you going to do like a new re-release, or like a new release of products, different things like?
Yes. But I'm trying to be patient with myself. So I'm going to restock. And I'm gonna ride out for a while what I have, just to give myself more time to work on and build other stuff, because I want to continue to build on that, because I really also like reading, and I also like self-development a lot. And that's really tied into my brand, which is just like, just educating yourself and going out there and figuring it out. So I want to do stuff that accessorizes that. Like I want to get better at illustration so that I can create more like accessories to reading, like bookmarks and just really more cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just not, I like where I'm at right now. Even though I would like to expand, I want to be patient with myself and expanding, and just kind of keep building and regrouping and restocking what I have right now, so that I can have more time to film and edit and create more of the digital content for the page, which I'm still trying to figure that out. So
yeah, you gotta get the creative juices to be able to access it, like people say like, oh, like you're so creative, and it's like I've never thought of myself as someone creative, but then it's like I was talking to a friend, and they were like, I'm playing Animal Crossing, I have no creative content in my head at all. I'm like, is it because you're like forcing yourself, or have you always been this way? And they're like, no, I've always been this way. That's so weird to me, like there's always some gerbil on the wheel for me, like just going, like, yeah, I could just go on for hours talking, like, just diving into that. It's a lot of work at the end of the day.
It is. It's a lot.
I see myself on a schedule.
Staying inspired.
I see myself sometimes even on a schedule that like I think of myself like, okay, this is the create day, and then I'll mull on it for a week, and then I'll finally put it out there or something like that. It's like, it takes time. It's crazy, and people think like, oh, you're so good. Like, it's like, no, I know this is a long episode, but hey, with long episodes come great content, a lot of stuff to talk about, which is also just like motivational, inspirational, and you cannot expect anything less from Khadijah, obviously. So with that being said, I want to forward you guys off to her world, and that is Khadijah Inspires, Shop K Inspires on Instagram. Both those handles are great sources for inspirational, motivational quotes and videos that she posts on there, as well as her YouTube channel, which is Khadijah Inspires. If you're supporting me, I want you to also support her as well, not only just watching, but also getting involved into her as a businesswoman, as a startup. Obviously, that's what we're all here for, supporting one another. Obviously, I'm super grateful for the listeners, for the support, for all my friends and my family and the fans of the show, Inspire with Sean. But I also want to share that with Khadijah as well. So go ahead, take a listen, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Music to me is like a message in a bottle. And so with that, I created and wrote my second solo album, The Other Side, by me, Sean Graves. If you love classical music, or if you're a little hesitant towards it, it's fine. Think of this music as something that you can have in the background, or you can actually actively listen to and piece together what is happening in the song. With that being said, each piece of the music, it's a message in a bottle, it's feelings that were felt, moments that I can personally listen to and go, I remember when I wrote this song. And that's what The Other Side's about. As I traveled across the world, I was writing these music notes and letters to the other side when I came home. And I hope that when you listen to this album, you get that feeling. And if you want to listen to it, check it out on iTunes, Amazon, any major store, retail, and I hope you enjoy it. And again, all proceeds come to help out the studio and the podcast as well for Inspire with Sean. Do you like free? Because I like free. In fact, it's one of my favorite 4-letter F words. I'm doing an audiobook. It's my first one of many that I hope I have the opportunity to do. And for my first audiobook, I decided to finally verbally put out into the world that I can indeed read proficiently, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And so I've always wanted to do this because to me, it's just another outlet of voice, building that confidence up, entertaining, and of course, having fun and enjoying the journey of reading how Alice went down the rabbit hole and then woke up at the end. And was it all really a dream? We'll find out. I'm currently 8 chapters in, but we will be finishing fairly soon. Hope you get a listen. If you want, it's at www.seangraves.rocks audiobooks. And of course, there will be plenty more books to be read as well. All right, enough with the business. On with the show. Like, one of the questions I sent you on a little note card, which I'm about to ask now, is like, did you always think of yourself as like, this is where you're going to be, this is where you're going to go, this is your trajectory, or are you what I would call, what I've been actually called? People have labeled me this, and I didn't pick it up until about 2 years ago, and that is a free range chicken. And what I mean by this is, if you like were thinking like, what the fuck does he mean by free range chicken? What I'm talking about is like, there's people who are in like a cage, right? Or in a hen roost, and they know what they want to do with life. Someone wants to be a psychologist. Okay, be a psychologist. Someone wants to be a doctor. Okay, be a doctor or a nurse or whatever you want. A scientist, an astronaut, something. Me, I'm like, wow, I really love science. Because synthesizers come from science. But synthesizers are music, and I love music. You know? And it's like this like laundry list of like things like, you know, I wanted to be a singer. Well, I'm not actually really good at singing, but I try my best, you know, and I put my best forward on that. But then I was like, you know, audiobooks, I can read the shit out of a book, you know? So I'm just gonna read a book, and I've been doing that, and going through that adventure of like just narrating and stuff like that. Podcasting, I was like, well, podcasting is narrating and just having a conversation with somebody else. But I call myself a free range chicken because you can't box me into one thing. People have been like, well, you got to learn something, you got to specialize in something. I was like, that is so hard for me right now. I have no idea how to do that. What do you consider yourself, a free range chicken, or are you like, no, I know exactly what I am in life. This is what I was meant to do.
Okay, so like in order for me to answer that, I would have to kind of go about it how you did, which is just saying how people viewed me and then just how I viewed myself, because oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
it's so different. But just recently, maybe like late last year, early this
Mm-hmm.
year, um, I think I think I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't consider myself a free range chicken because of the method that I'm going about in doing everything. So
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of allocated and created a timeline with how I've wanted to do everything. So it's not that I'm not a free range chicken, but I've decided for like it'll be the next, which is another thing. Began to be so much more patient with myself. I've given myself a year to be a caged chicken in this
Mm-hmm.
aspect. And
Mm-hmm.
then in the next year, I'd like to have this working in a self-sufficient way to where I can afford to go somewhere else and it just kind of work in a systematic way. So right now I'm in a very much digital content creating
Mm-hmm.
way more so than anything. So just content and also just part-time or freelance modeling is kind of like my bracket for like the next year or
Right.
so. And so it would be me. And then eventually I'm hoping to be able to scale
Mm-hmm.
and be able to in the next year be a caged chicken doing something else and doing
Yeah.
something else. So it's like, so other people view me and they're like, I feel like you're always doing something different. But that made me realize that I wasn't communicating my focus well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I started to be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm creating content, especially now when I can't get gigs really as much or I can't travel as much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating content. I'm creating tutorials. I'm creating sit down talks. I am, you know what I mean, monetizing this right now. That's my
Mm-hmm.
focus right now.
Yeah.
I'm building and budgeting and saving. That's what I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a caged chicken, but I think I'm a seasonal caged chicken, if that makes
Seasonal
sense.
caged chicken.
Is that making any sense?
That
I
makes a
think
lot of
it's
sense.
it's
And
seasonal. It's seasonal,
yeah,
but I'm caged. I'm definitely caged.
yeah, absolutely. Because it's like, when I have those conversations, like, especially like at work or, with my family or somebody, they're always like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm like, I'm 30 years old. Like, when does grow up happen? Like I'm
Yeah.
self-sufficient, I'm paying my bills, like, I'm not starving to death. Like, it's great. It's an awesome life. Um, but it's like, when I tell people like I want to be able to, have my music be heard and people enjoy it and love it. And, then it's not that that makes me want to create more content in that manner, but like, even just like not having that, because I'm not saying I don't have it, but for the little amount that I'm grateful for, could it be more? Yes. And I would love to have that. Like, who wouldn't, right? You would love that as well. Um,
Hmm.
and then, doing the other projects, the podcast, the narrating, the everything else, like books, taking my hand at writing, because again, it's another way of voice, if you will. And so in that sense, you could say it's a box cage of entertainment with
Mm.
no background, well, with some background. I've taken some class of background in entertainment, but it it wasn't filling that educational role. It was just giving me exactly everything that is a dogma that I sat there going like, I see this, I know this. So what am I paying, $500 a tuition for just to hear some guy 20 years older than me telling me exactly what I'm seeing in front of myself? And it's not groundbreaking, you know? So breaking away from that and then just like going and saying like, look, this is the project. This is the idea. Let's go make it happen. You know, it's like, and of course, gathering the mentors along our way, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is the free range chicken in a cage. But at the same time, if I was to confess that at a career board and they go, what? It's like, well, at the end of the day, I could change it and say, in another word, I'm a businessman. You know what I mean? I'm doing business and this is my business and this is the model that I'm at. But the education to get there was not through entertainment because that is so subjective that it's actually this business education that you have to pour a little bit into and sometimes a lot into and go, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's so hard for me again because it's like, okay, so I'm specializing in business, but I'm also an entertainer. But which one do I tell my boss?
It's tough. It's tough, but I think you can very much do all of them. I think you just have to be really patient. I think that's the trick. You just have to be really patient with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and do it in little bite sizes. And you can have everything automated to, and you know what I mean, to a point where you can do all of them. I feel like the sky's the limit, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that. I like that you're taking on all the different aspirations that you want to, because you're like maximizing your lifespan or like your lifetime or experience. I feel like that's the best way to go, because when you do that, when you're like, no, I'm just going to be a doctor and live my whole life being a doctor and not
That's
even
great.
try to do anything else, that's fine for you.
Save lives,
Right,
please.
please save lives for you. That's fine. But
Yeah.
even in that, it's like if you're a doctor and you decide to get your own practice, that's a business. You know what I mean? So it's like you are expanding outside of just fixing people, because if that was the case, then you just go to a hospital that's already established.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I think you kind of gotta be patient with yourself, and because you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to put that, I just don't believe in putting that cap on yourself and just living solely off of one, even on from a monetary standpoint. It's like, you're going to live your whole life off of just one stream of income. Like, you're just not even going to try to, you're not even going to try to maximize that. Like, for me, I just aspire for several, because I just think we should be able to live an abundant life. But I mean, be patient building them. You don't have to like wake up one day and then tomorrow try to build like 6 other streams of income in a day. It's like a process.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely. So here's the random shower thought, because I blurted out because this is supposed to be just like one of those like random, like top of your first thing.
That's why you blurred it out.
Yep.
I was looking like, what? Did you make a mistake? Like, what?
Nope, I didn't make a mistake. I purposely did this because I want to hear what you think of first.
Okay.
You know what a shower thought is?
I can use my context clues, but I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Okay, so it's like,
now.
imagine yourself in the shower.
Okay.
And then like this random thought pops in your head and you're like, holy shit. You know?
And these are things that only hit you when you're in the shower, typically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Typically.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
The first driving teacher was never officially taught.
Really?
Yeah. Like, imagine like cars are like the first on the street and there's horses and buggies and things like that driving by. Who taught these people how to drive? They had to learn from somehow. Like, how? How did this happen?
Wow.
The first driving teacher was never officially taught.
So then it's like, so there was no standard. There was no, that's interesting. So there was no standard. There was no way to really determine if people really knew how to drive then. Because that first person had no idea how to drive.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy to me.
Right. I was thinking that too, and I was like, huh. So
I
is
should have gotten my license back then. Is what you're telling me.
You know, I was thinking like the collective unconscious of everyone deciding, okay, we're all driving on the right-hand side of the road. You know what I mean? And like on the other side of the pond, everyone's driving on the left-hand side of the road, you know? And the neighbors north of us, they're driving on the left. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Like
I love that.
I was in there going like, we can all be on the road and people can be living off of like, riding on a horseback or something like that, the old archaic way. But then like there's people who are doing things that are not of that archaic nature. And we all have to teach each other how to drive on this road with these four wheels in a box. Got to spin up the old motor first, hopefully not get in a car accident because Lord knows brake fluid wasn't probably invented then. So it was just like so freaking meta,
Wow.
Right? Shower thoughts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
Interesting. Now I'm going to be thinking about that because my process of getting a license, I took a minute to get my license together because I just didn't have the right people teaching me. It wasn't consistent enough. I learned differently, so things weren't really sticking. And so that just makes me angry. Like thinking about that, just thinking about the fact that like people were getting their license back then and there was no real standard.
Well,
really.
no.
So if you paid the right amount, it's got a lot of questions I got there now. It makes me a little upset. Upset.
Oh yeah. And for a woman to drive a car back in the oldie times, right?
Exactly.
Like, I'm not saying that's where the meme came from, but it certainly didn't help. Now when you've got, these boyos running around and they're just like, just dicking it up and just getting into car accidents left and right. And then going like, well, if we can't do any better, who's to say anyone else can? Like, what? No. There's plenty of people in this world who could drive way better than each other.
Yeah, I'm saying maybe they'll take more care because we have more compassion. Maybe we'll be more considerate for people on the road. That divine feminine energy, perhaps.
Yeah.
We won't be trying to have a pissing contest on the road. Have you thought about that? We'd be more considerate, maybe? No, that was not a thought. They didn't consider that. Just maybe.
Like just a little bit, but not too much, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that all day now.
You're welcome.
Actually going to be thinking about that all day. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome.
I'm actually going to be thinking about that. I'm going to research some more. Wow.
Yep.
I love that.
I swear to God, if you Google search first driving teacher ever, good luck. Because that's going to be the single-handed, like one guy we're all going to blame, right? For everything wrong.
It was you. It was you that it was you that inspired these people to feel as though they need to be taxing us and giving all these fees and all these little toll fees. If there was no car, there would be none of this.
Like, what the hell is a yield sign to this day?
If you're looking twice before you're even going forward, I don't need a sign to tell me to yield. Just put if it's a stop sign, then it's a stop sign.
Yeah. So I got my first car accident was actually at a yield sign. And I pull over at this point off to the side of the grass, and she does too. And she calls 911. I roll out of the passenger seat, like out of the passenger door. I don't know why. I had the driver door was fine. I don't know why I made it so dramatic to go out the passenger door. And she goes, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I'm like, I'm fine. I have a headache. I had a concussion actually. She goes, she said the damnedest thing. Oh yeah. She said, I've never been in a car accident before. I'm like, well, here we are. Like, I was so like, I was so angry, and yet like kind
You
of like,
said that is false because you have been in a car accident because we're standing here right now. That is false.
yep, absolutely. I was like, this is like the falsehood of like never being in a car accident. Well, we're gonna live this experience together, so best of luck to everybody else.
Dang.
And the cop was just kind of like nonchalant, going like, "Oh, well, it looks like you're fine. Like, you're not a nurse, you're not a doctor."
And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, that is why you cause a scene. Any chance that you can get, that is why you cause a scene and make a big deal. They're like, I don't see. Well, I am so dramatic. Let me be very clear. I'm very dramatic. And I think that, yeah, that's why you got to just turn it up on them and be very dramatic. Because who are you to tell me? What if I handle stress really well? Like, who are you to be like, oh yeah, you don't look that hurt. So.
You know, I was coming from college and about to head off to my job at the time, which was going to be a 2-hour drive. I still had to go to work. I was like, I can't not do this. I have to go make money. Like, I got ramen to eat tonight. Like,
seriously, it'd be like that.
Right.
It really be like that. Eat the ramen, go to work, stack it up. And then, next time we can do something a little bit more upper scale, ramen with some chicken inside, grilled chicken. And
hot
we can
dogs.
start beefing it up. Hot dogs.
I had to cut it up into slices. You know?
The struggle meals are real. I follow this page on Snapchat. They have like struggle meals. And I'm not struggling, but I like to act like it so that I can save more money. I'm not struggling.
Oh yeah.
I like to act like I'm struggling. And he be spicing it up, noodles but we're talking about this right now. You going to work, but that's another conversation. Conversation.
Yeah, right. No, I get it. Cause like, what's funny is like you talk about struggle meals, and like, it's not that I like to live like I'm still living in a struggle, because like the thing is that like in my early 20s, like having to go through all that, I mean, I was a little bit coddled by my older sisters at the same time, but not too much, in that like I was, reins off and doing it, kind of trying to figure out like where my place is in the world, especially during a recession. And like we're feeling that today, we're probably going to feel it for another 2 years. Is that you have to kind of go through that, and then as an older adult, where I know I'm not struggling, but at the same time, there's these TV shows like, have you seen Extreme Penny Pinchers?
No. Is it on Netflix, or is it just on TV?
I've seen it on YouTube because I was at work, and they were like, yeah, have you ever heard of
like my show?
This is it actually. I watched like 3 episodes, and then I realized I was getting anxiety because I didn't know like where on the scale of crazy these people were living. I don't know. You're a judge of your own character. You do you, but YouTube it. It's out there. This lady makes a lasagna out of her dishwasher. Thank you. That's the look that I had too when I first heard this. Yep.
Why? Why when you could just do it? Why when you could just? I'd rather you just meal prep everything so you can not keep using your gas or whatever, if that's the case. But like,
that's not even the top of the iceberg.
That's disgusting. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Do what? Are we gonna do? Okay,
I'm ready.
Let's do this.
I'm ready.
All right, I'm gonna ruin this one episode, but if you want to go watch it, just go ahead. I am not doing you any injustice by not going any further into detail. So yeah, like it was a bizarre episode, but that's only one episode, and so to find out that there's other people in this world who penny pinch the shit out of just the most mundane things, like a cake or an anniversary, or like, yeah. Oh, it's like, I'm a penny pincher. I pay for the products
I'm not to that degree. Yeah, not
no,
to that
there's
degree.
some extremes out there that I'm just like, there's a fine line between just eating ramen noodles because you're saving yourself up, or meal prepping for a week out. So that way you don't have to buy meals because you already have meals and all you gotta do is just reheat them.
Or like
And then there's
those.
these people who will be like, oh, yeah, Khadijah, like, I know it's our anniversary, but I got you some balloons, and like the balloons are like happy 5th birthday, some kind of Christmas balloon that's like 2 years old, and it doesn't even have helium in it because God forbid I pay for that, so I use my own air, to blow them up
So
for you.
it's not even floating. It's
not even
like,
floating. I had to like take tape and like, put it on the wall to look like it's floating. Yeah. This TV
that's
show.
the level. That's what I'm saying. I still want to live. Like, I still want to budget so that I can buy things that I want, but it's not, it might not be as high as I want my budget to be. But at the same time, I'm not in a position to be buying more wants than needs right now. Like, so it's like, I don't know, but it's also just me right now. So maybe when there's more people, but still, you have to learn how to budget around your lifestyle and still live comfortably. I think that's the downfall, is that they're not living comfortably. And that makes me so sad, because I mean, as a child, watching that, you're learning the importance of saving money, but you're also like robbing yourself of just, you know what I mean, the part where you enjoy your life within, you know what I mean,
like a proper lasagna, for God's sakes. Yeah.
Maybe not make lasagna every week then. Maybe just make your meal prep your lasagna, and you know what I mean? That sucks.
Yeah. I do things like, I mean, as far as like penny pinching, like I have like literally nothing plugged into the walls except for the refrigerator, the oven, like the old kettle, right? Unplugged. It doesn't need to be plugged in. It's not being used. There's no reason for it to have consistent electricity flowing through it. I unplug not the internet, but the television, the entertainment systems, the video games and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be on all the time. My synthesizers, they don't need to be plugged in all the time. I'm not using them. That's okay.
That's a good point.
Does it save money? In the long run, yes. Is it lessening my carbon footprint? Absolutely. We only have one Earth, and I'm like one guy, but God, I don't want to like be hoarding and just enjoying things for sake of just, well, they're just plugged in to be plugged in. But later on in the future, it's like, I'm one person, but if everyone did the same thing that I'm doing, or to another extreme, how detrimental is that to the next generation, and so on and so forth, like,
yeah,
it's just a tea kettle.
Yeah. I gotta see. Actually, I made my coffee just now. Give me a quick second. Let me just make sure my coffee maker is not plugged in. I feel bad right now. Let me see. I just unplugged mine. Yeah, you just unplugged mine.
Yeah. It's like, it's just that one little thing. And it's like, when we went on tour, I unplugged everything but the refrigerator, even the stove, because like no one's using it, nothing. My electric bill was actually like, it was crazy because like during the Christmas season, it's like $20.
That's not bad.
No, that's definitely during the Christmas season.
I didn't even think about that. Like mine, I have an electric stove, so I'm assuming that means that I can unplug it somehow, but I never do. Nope. You're giving me gems right now.
No. I don't mean to. I just, I'm just saying like, it's like these little things that like when I need to use it, boom, I use it, And it's like, it was just something that was just instilled to me as a young adult, and thinking about like how, that what I put, because of these small little things, I'm able to do, it alleviates me to be able to do more things, because I'm saving. And it's not just that, but it's also like the compassion of others on the outside too, that, all this inner work, such as, not plugging things in and stuff like that, and just leaving them on, helps future generations too,
Yeah.
No.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. It's like that little thing, but I mean, it's like, what else can you do for your environment and for your community too? So last question before we wrap this all up. What inspired you today, this week, or this month?
I can pick either one. I can pick anyone.
All three. Don't even limit yourself.
Okay. What inspired me today is the fact that I want to have the most easygoing week. So today I'm going to be doing a lot of pre-recorded content and a lot of pre-written content. I want to have the smoothest possible week so that I can kind of leave more space for organic content. So that inspires me today and what I want to do today. What inspired me this month is the fact that I'm getting closer and closer to saving up for, just little small fixes that I want to make. So I'm like super hyped to like save and to skimp where I can and not eat out. And so that's inspired me this month is just my goals, my financial goals, so that I can be a little bit more savvy with the way that I live my life and what I spend on what. And then you said this year?
This week, this month.
Okay. So there you go. That's this week. And then that's this month.
Nice.
So I just like an easygoing, and it's overwhelming right now because I'm trying to find the system to where I'm not as overwhelmed. But I think once I find the system, if I can pre-record, you know what I mean? Like 6 videos or so, that means for the next, you know what I mean? Like 3 weeks, I can afford to post 2, just cruising.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. I like the idea of just, I can go to the gym or just, I don't really gym right now because of everything, but I can go for a run and I can, you know what I mean? Watch a lot of anime, which I haven't been able to really do because my mind's not there right now.
Yeah.
So
I find myself watching anime and I'm just like this. I could be doing something right now.
I have stuff to do.
Yeah, like I've got tweets to put out. I've got promotions to put out. I've got a blog to write. I can't even watch this anime right.
There's nothing wrong with that, like at all, especially when you're passionate and you have a goal for what you want to do. Sometimes you have to be a little hard on yourself in that way, just to make sure that it's getting done. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, you don't have to be like, it's not that you're being hard on yourself. It's more so that you're holding yourself accountable because in the starting phases, people are, like you said, no one's going to be there to, maybe some, but a majority of the people are not going to be at your door or asking you, hey, where's this week's, people they're not going to care as much as you do. So you have to prioritize it. So I like that. I like that a lot, that people prioritize their goals and things like that so that they can do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
Love that.
You're reminding me that like on my refrigerator door is a list of things that make me happy. And it's like, you've got the week and then you've got like all these tasks they're like stupid things. Like I think the most embarrassing one on there is manscaping. Cause Lord knows, you got to take care of your body. You got to make sure your body look good, got to put that time in. Which is so stupid. So
self-care. I like self-care Sunday. I like to do self-care Sundays, but self-care should be every day. But self-care Sunday is my zoom in day. Like I'm soaking my feet. I've been listening to audiobooks this month so far. Listening to my audio masks. So I like that. You should. That should be something that makes you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, who doesn't like tending to themselves, you know, from head to toe, and just going like, yep, I got every nook and cranny this time. Like,
Yeah.
so stupid. That's like
Next time, more smoother on the edges. But right now, it's just pretty good.
yeah. Or like, you know, drinking 8 glasses of water, you know, like that's on there for some, you know, because I don't drink as much water, that's why. So it's like it's a check, you know, and when I do these things, I'm like, yeah, okay, got it. I'm on schedule. I'm on trajectory.
I love that. I love that so much. It's like such a revolution to take care of yourself because
Yeah.
You're preserving your life, you're preserving, you know what I mean, your energy, and you're telling yourself, you're telling your spirit, you know what I mean, that I appreciate your body, I appreciate you for carrying my spirit and carrying my energy around on a day-to-day basis. Thank you, like taking care of your feet. Thank you for getting me to where I needed to go. You know what I mean? Thank you for transporting me. It's like little small things like that you, without you knowing, you're really telling your body that it's like, I appreciate what you do for me on a daily basis. It's really like, honestly, a message to yourself by taking care of yourself.
Absolutely.
I love that.
My thing is that like with this tool, like when I started it almost like a month ago now, is that I didn't put any restrictions. I need to knock out all of these things at once on a day-to-day basis. It's just that the reason why there's a calendar on the top is because, like, have I done this in a while? No, I haven't. I'll do it today. You know what I mean? And I'll go
so
do
you
that.
can have something to pick from, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Instead of you trying to think really hard, like, what is it that you've taken out that difficulty.
Exactly, because
made it easier for you to.
If you go through like life and you have problems, it's really hard. We get so overwhelmed and we get anxiety from having to sit there and go like, oh my God, like you and I have been there where we have to write down a list of things that we need to get done or a list of how to do's, correct? And if someone comes to you with a list and goes, here, I've done this, maybe this will work for you. Well, half the work's already done. Now you just apply it, you know? So to do it on the scale of, this is my week, these are things that if I do them, I feel great. Not all of them all at once, but you know, that's the whole point, is that if you condition yourself to do manscaping every single day, there probably not be much manscaping left to be done, like, you know, for a really long time. You know, like gardening, you know, you could do that every day, or you could do that once every 2 days or something like that. It's all up to you, you know? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
I like
that one tool has inspired me through this whole quarantine, specifically this past 14 days, which will end on Monday. Because they say within 14 days you'll start feeling feelings. And man, that was a conversation to be had with those CDC people. They went through this laundry list of things and signs and symptoms, and they were like, are you feeling any of this? And I'm like, am I allowed to feel feelings? Because I mean, if I sneeze, I might have it. Like, who the fuck knows at this point, you know? They were like anything from headache, nausea, diarrhea, upset stomach, like, just take Pepto-Bismol and deuce out, dude. Like, but it's more than that. So just to be 14 days in and have this one little tool, and I just walk to it every morning because that's where my coffee creamer is at. I'm just like, all right, 8 glasses of water, 2-hour exercise, and yeah, I'll read a book today. That's the one thing that's held me together, like glue so far.
The routine.
The routine. Yeah, it's always a fucking routine. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate this. It's so organic. I feel like we always have really organic conversations. So this is really nothing, but I am grateful.
Yeah. And my goal is, again, like with this whole podcast, is to reach out to people, have them listen and feel like, again, it's an organic conversation, but like even the listeners can feel that, you know, they can find these little nuggets of like, oh yeah, I never thought of life that way. Or look at this inspirational person and like where they're at and their trajectory, you know? Yeah. Take a little something. Alchemically turn it into gold, you know, from lead to gold.
Love it.
That's life.
Love it so much.